Bushisms are unconventional words, phrases, pronunciations, malapropisms, and semantic or linguistic errors in the public speaking of former President of the United States George W. Bush. The term has become part of popular folklore and is the basis of a number of websites and published books. It is often used to caricature the former president. Common characteristics include malapropisms, the creation of neologisms, spoonerisms, stunt words and grammatically incorrect subject-verb agreement. Discussion: Bush's use of the English language in formal and public speeches has spawned several books that document the statements. A poem entitled Make the Pie Higher, composed entirely of Bushisms, was compiled by cartoonist Richard Thompson. Various public figures and humorists, such as Jon Stewart of The Daily Show and Gary Trudeau, creator of the comic strip Doonesbury, have popularized some more famous Bushisms. Linguist Mark Liberman of Language Log has suggested that Bush is not unusually error-prone in his speech, saying, "You can make any public figure sound like a boob if you record everything he says and set hundreds of hostile observers to combing the transcripts for disfluencies, malapropisms, word formation errors and examples of non-standard pronunciation or usage. Which of us could stand up to a similar level of linguistic scrutiny?" Nearly a decade after George W. Bush said misunderestimated in a speech, Philip Hensher called the term one of his most memorable additions to the language, and an incidentally expressive one. It may be that we rather needed a word for to underestimate by mistake. Journalist and pundit Christopher Hitchens published an essay in The Nation titled, "Why Do I Can't Read," writing, "I used to have the job of tutoring a dyslexic child, and I know something about the symptoms. So I kicked myself hard when I read the profile of Governor George W. Bush, by my friend and colleague Gail Sheehy, in this month's Vanity Fair. All those jokes and cartoons and websites about his gaffes, bungles and malapropisms? We've been unknowingly teasing the afflicted. The poor guy's obviously dyslexic, and dyslexic to the point of near illiteracy." Stanford Graduate School lecturer and former Bush economic policy advisor Keith Hennessy has argued that the number of Bush's verbal gaffes is not unusual given the significant amount of time that he has spoken in public. Furthermore, if Barack Obama's speeches were given the same level of scrutiny, there would be a similar number of gaffes. Hennessy goes on to say that Bush tried to position himself as an average American, not as a Cambridge or Upper East Side elite. Notable statements: General, they misunderestimated me. A. Bentonville, Arkansas. November 6, 2000, I know the human being and fish can coexist peacefully. A. Saginaw, Michigan. September 29, 2000, there's an old saying in Tennessee I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee that says, "Fool me once, shame on. Shame on you. Fool me you can't get fooled again." A. Nashville, Tennessee. September 17, 2002, too many good docs are getting out of the business. Too many OBGYNs aren't able to practice their love with women all across this country. A. Poplar Bluff, Missouri. September 6, 2004, I'm going to put people in my place, so when the history of this administration is written at least there's an authoritarian voice saying exactly what happened. Foreign Affairs, I'm the commander, see. I don't need to explain I do not need to explain why I say things. That's the interesting thing about being the president. Maybe somebody needs to explain to me why they say something, but I don't feel like I owe anybody an explanation. Yesterday, you made note of my the lack of my talent when it came to dancing. But nevertheless, I want you to know I danced with joy. And no question Liberia has gone through very difficult times. Speaking with the President of Liberia, Washington, D.C., October 22, 2008, this is still a dangerous world. It's a world of madmen and uncertainty and potential mental losses. Economics, you bet I cut the taxes at the top. That encourages entrepreneurship. What we Republicans should stand for is growth in the economy. We ought to make the pie higher. In January 2000, just before the New Hampshire primary, Bush challenged the members of the Nashua Chamber of Commerce to imagine themselves as a single mother working hard to put food on your family. Education, rarely is the question asked, is our children learning? A. Florence, South Carolina. January 11, 2000, see also, Internets, Anguish Languish, Coleman Balls, Eggcorn, Spoonerism, Yogiism, References. Further reading, Frank, Justin A. Bush on the Couch, Inside the Mind of the President. ISBN 0-06-073670-4. Miller, Mark Crispin. The Bush Dyslexicon. ISBN 0-393-04183-2. Weisberg, Jacob, ed. George W. Bushisms, The Accidental Wit and Wisdom of Our 43rd President. ISBN 0-7407-4456-9. New Republic. Bushisms, President George Herbert Walker Bush in his own words. ISBN 1-56305-318-7. Sherman, B. Owen. George W. Bush on the Trips of His Tongue A Linguistic Legacy. ISBN 978-1-4303-1795-1. External links, The Complete Bushisms by Jacob Weisberg.